Welcome, everyone, to the Success Elevated podcast. As always, I'm your host, Hayden Lee, and I am joined this week by a very special guest. He's jokingly said he's the last person in restoration to come on this podcast, which is a bad job on our part. It's a bad job on my part of podcasting. We've had Chuck and a couple other members of the Violin team jump on. But finally, we have the Director of Marketing and Sales over at Violin Management, Jeff Jones. Jeff, thanks for coming on the podcast.
Now, in my defense, if you go to my office, on the door is a sign where it says Director of World Domination.
Okay.
So that is the other title. That's the motivational title that I like to use.
Director of World Domination, Jeff Jones.
Yes. LinkedIn title, that sales thing.
The sales
Real
thing.
title, World Domination.
World Domination. Jeff, seriously, thanks for coming on.
No, thanks for having me.
Super excited to get the chance to talk to you, especially in person. We don't get to do a lot of in-person podcasts. A lot of the great people that we connect with, we do podcasts over Zoom, which are great, and it serves a purpose, but it's different doing it in person.
Yeah,
So,
agreed. Absolutely.
let's dive in a little bit and talk about your background. I know you haven't been with Violin your entire career, and maybe not been in restoration your entire career. So let's talk a little bit about how you got to where you are today. What did you used to do for work? How did you get to the point where you're now coaching and helping restoration companies?
Yeah, I graduated back in 2000 from the University of Toledo with a sales and marketing degree. Went to work for a company called Shaw Industries. It's the largest manufacturer of floor covering. Down to Dalton, Georgia for about 3 months. You go through their sales training program. They hand you a map of the United States and say, where do you think you want to live? And you pick states, and they do their best to try and get you there. And they got me back to Ohio. And so I was with Shaw for about 5 years. Great company. Loved it. Loved sales. What I found after 5 years is I wasn't actually all that passionate about carpet.
Okay.
Like I'd walk in and be like, this carpet's brown, and this one is more brown.
Yeah.
And I ran out of ways of saying that. So I left there. I went to work for the family business, Ace Hardware. My father's got Ace Hardware's east side of Cleveland.
Very cool.
Absolutely loved working with him. It was a great opportunity. Saw the sales and marketing. We did a home repair division. We had a lawn and garden division that I saw. I got approached for an opportunity to work for an up-and-coming enzyme cleaning company. They were mostly selling, concentrate off of the internet, and they asked for some assistance in getting into retail. So I did that for about a year and a half. We were exceptionally successful.
Yeah.
And when everything got really successful, I had a falling out with the owner. He had his opinions, I had mine, and I found myself unemployed for the first time in my life. It's roughly 13 years ago, so Monster.com was a thing.
Yep.
I went online, found this company down the street. I couldn't pronounce their name. I didn't fully understand what they did, but they had ethical 3 times in the job description.
Okay.
And I knew that's where I wanted to be. So I went and interviewed. For like 4 months before they finally hired me.
Yeah.
And I've been there now for roughly 13 years.
You were like, what is this violin?
What is violin? And yes, I was exactly that.
That's
I'm
cool.
like, you teach people to do what?
Yeah, what are we talking about?
Yeah.
That's awesome. It seems like, just from you kind of describing what you've done for work, that like sales is a part of who you are, right? I mean, just going back to like selling carpet, right? And obviously that's kind of a different ball game, just because, like you said, this carpet's a little more brown. It's like it's hard to really kind of go through it, but sales is a part of who you are. Why are you passionate about sales? What is it just something that you like felt like you're just naturally good at, or
you know, there's this debate that's out there about passion versus talent.
Yeah.
And I think that all of us want to grow up and be the starting pitcher for the New York Yankees.
Yes.
Very few of us ever get to be that, or you want to be a movie star or a ballerina or a star musician or whatever it is. And most of us just don't have the talent to follow their passion. We're always told, follow your passion.
Yeah.
Well, if we all did that, we'd all be broke. I had a couple instructors at the University of Toledo that taught sales classes, and that's how I got into it, and I thought, I might be good at this.
Yeah.
I understand this. And then when I got into it, I found that naturally I was. It was just a comfortable thing for me. So I didn't grow up passionate saying, I want to be a sales guy. I hope nobody does. But I got into the industry because the harder I worked, the more money I could make.
Right.
And when I started getting good at it, it became a passion.
Yeah.
And so now I sell something. I'd love to sell a product. I'd love to sell you this microphone. I don't know the first thing about it, but I can sell the microphone because you can use it.
Yeah.
I sell a service. We teach management training. We teach you how to understand numbers better. We teach you leadership. what does that actually look and feel like? So now it's a really fun sales process because you've got to get people, you got to get the emotion behind it. You've got to have real discussions on pain points and what is realistic and what's not, and what are we all capable of. And that's a fun discussion. So I don't think great salespeople are truly great salespeople. I think great salespeople are really good problem solvers.
Yeah.
And that's it. Find the problem, think you find a solution, and then work your ass off to make it happen.
Yeah, it's like that critical thinking piece to it, and I feel like I have a similar opinion, and I haven't done a sales job by any means, but all the great salespeople that I know and that I've talked to could sell you anything, and it's because they're great at problem solving and diagnosing about, okay, this is what your pain point is, here's how my product or service handles that pain point.
The minute I'm out furniture shopping or car shopping and I think somebody's trying to sell me something, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm out.
Yeah.
I don't want to be a part of it. But if I have actual questions and you make it a point to answer them and answer them in a way that makes sense to me, then let's have a discussion.
Yeah, that's cool. That's a cool way to phrase it. So let's dive in a little bit more, and obviously we've talked to Chuck, and I think a lot of people in the industry are familiar with who you guys are and what you do, but you've obviously stuck with Violand over the last 13 years and have been super passionate about them, and I see you at trade shows all the time. So what has made you, obviously you were attracted to maybe the job description on monster.com, but what has made you stick with Violand for the last 13 years?
So when I went in to do the first interview, I think there were 5 rounds of them, almost all of that process felt like a place I belonged. It felt like people that actually cared. Yeah. And we're going to go above and beyond to create an opportunity for me to do well. And they weren't going to hand me the ability. They weren't going to just automatically do it for me. But they were going to put me in an environment that was going to be challenging, and they were going to demand the best out of me. And when you work with exceptionally talented people, it's fun because you can be a little bit more risky sometimes in some of your decisions. Yeah. Because if you screw up, and Lord knows I've screwed up enough professionally, personally, that when I've got the talent on the team that I'm with, they'll find a way to bail me out. Or they're going to make certain I learned a lesson from it. Yeah. And that we get better the next time around, and vice versa. And, it's my duty, my responsibility as part of the family to do the same for them. Yeah. It's a fun culture to be part of.
Do you think, as you were describing that, it made me think that there's probably a lot of trust that you have with your team. Like, not only do you know they're high achievers and they're very successful, but there's probably a lot of trust there too, where you know, hey, these guys are gonna have my back. I'm gonna take a risk here with maybe this training or this sales product or whatever, but I know that, hey, if I do make a mistake, they're gonna have my back, and there's some trust there that I feel like is super important. Is that something that maybe, and obviously you're more on the sales side, but I would assume there's probably a lot of conversations in the coaching that happens about trust as well.
Oh, there has to be. There's only 3 people in your life you can never lie to.
Yeah.
Your attorney, your doctor, and your consultant. Because what's good is going to happen if you lie to any of them. Yeah. So that trust has to be part of it, and a good attorney and a good physician, a good consultant is going to be very straightforward, black and white, upfront, hold you accountable, and call you out. Yeah. When they do that, and you need that in order to be successful with any of them. Yeah. Excuse me. So that does lead to the trust piece of they have my best interest as part of it. And I think a lot of what we do, when I started, we had a couple dozen clients. We had 3 full-time consultants. Obviously, it's grown exponentially. We're now in 3 different countries. Yeah. Clients in just about every state in the union. And it's been a lot of fun to be part of that growth. It's a different company now, though. Yeah. It's not, we used to be able to get together around the kitchen table, and there was ample elbow room for everybody to have conversations. And we can't do that now. If we go out and have a meal together as a company, we got to call ahead 2 weeks prior and reserve the big room. Yeah. And there's a lot of great to that. And there's also a little bit of sadness to that, too, that the good old days, you never know you're in the good old days when you were in them type thing. Yep. And that there's truth to that. But the fun part of watching people like Chuck Violand and why he's so good at what he did is he said what made us great there was that culture, was that trust, was that openness and that communication. That has to be first. Yeah. So when we write our business plan, we have our long-term goals and we have our major business objectives like we encourage all of our clients to do. But before you get to any of that, it says culture first.
Yeah.
Then
that's awesome.
this. So every decision that gets made, you go back to, does this affect the culture? And if it does, is it positive or is it negative? And
Right.
if there's a chance that this is negative, no matter how great the idea sounds, it's shut down.
Yeah.
So from hiring decisions to management decisions, culture first, then what's the long-term goals? Does this fit an objective? And then how are we going to pay for it? And how's Jeff going to sell it?
Yeah, as much or more, and I love this type of conversation because I think it's super relatable, but as much or more important than your systems, like you've got to have a good company culture. And it helps you scale in a way that I don't think people think about. Like you're describing here is you used to all be able to fit around a kitchen table, and now you can't, obviously.
Yep.
But you've been able to grow and be successful, and people know Violand and talk to you guys, and you have clients all over the place because you have the same culture that you did 13 years ago.
Yeah.
And that's what's like, you have the same values and you believe in the same things, and that allows you to hire. Like, I would assume that somebody that you hired a year ago probably has similar values to you that were hired 13 years ago. And it's because you guys have tried to cultivate this culture of, hey, we're going to take care of our clients, we're going to build this trust, whatever your values might be. But if you have those values, it helps you be scalable.
Yeah, it's very much a work hard, play hard.
Yeah,
But, you're there for your person next to you more than you're there for yourself.
Yeah.
Because they're going to be there for you, and a rising tide raises all ships.
Yeah.
And I want to say it was Jim Collins, but I could be wrong, so don't quote me on it. But I think it was Collins who said, "Culture eats strategy for breakfast."
Yeah.
And that is absolutely true.
Yeah.
But the strategy part is a lot of fun as well.
And the strategy is important, and,
Yep.
and we're not saying it's not, but I think like the culture piece is often missed when people are talking about scale. We got to get our systems right. We got to be selling more, and that's all important. But at the end of the day, like if you want to make sure as you grow, you've got to hire more people, and the only way you hire good people is if you've got a good culture and good values in place.
Yeah, I found after 13 years of doing this and working with clients of all different shapes and sizes and sophistications and experiences, very rarely is it ever a systems problem.
Yeah.
It's almost never a systems problem. The systems problem is a symptom of what the actual problems are.
Yep.
So we can hand you the system. That's really, really easy to do. And you don't have to pay somebody like us to hand you the system. They're everywhere. You can find them. But actually implementing them and managing it and holding people accountable and holding yourself accountable to it and tracking the numbers and the KPIs and all of that, that takes a certain skill set and a consistency to it that gets really, really hard when the phone is ringing a lot or when the phone's not ringing at all.
Yeah. That's a great way to describe it. I love that stuff and it's something that we talk a lot about on the podcast, about values and culture, because again, it's just something that people forget. People forget all the time.
The Success Elevated podcast is brought to you by SOS Navigator. SOS Navigator is an on-demand training platform geared towards marketing, personal development, and business growth. We understand that as a business owner in the service industry, you wear a million hats. Let SOS Navigator be a simple and cost-effective way for you to continue to grow your business. Click the link in the show notes below and use code SOS Podcast to get 10% off your next on-demand training course.
Jeff, let's talk a little bit more about the future. What's the future look like for old Violand? I know you guys are going to a lot of trade shows and talking to a lot of really cool people. What's the future look like? What you guys got some big goals coming up for the next? I know you guys are big on like strategic planning. Like let's talk goals.
Yeah, we do, and there's specific reasons for this because the industry is changing. Quite a bit. And I'm here with Josh Bachman, who's a consultant with us now for about 2-3 years. Prior to working with us, he was with JC Restoration up in Chicago, big outfit, well known. And so he came to the very first core collective as a contractor. And I was at the first one as a vendor, and now he's come over to our side. But we were sitting down at the hotel bar last night about 9:30, and both of us looked around and went, I don't recognize a lot of people here. And I've been at every single one of these, and he's been at most of them, and every other conference, the 18,000 other conferences that are going to happen this year. Looked around and said, I don't recognize a lot of people because a lot of that old guard has sold or isn't coming to the show anymore. They went to a different show, and you've got a younger generation who's coming up. And I'm in the process of writing an article for Michelle Blevins on why that's super scary for anybody caught in between those two. If you were part of that old guard and you had the ability to sell and get out and you've got generational money, fantastic. I'm really, really happy for you. We had a lot of clients do it. Hate to see them go, but so happy and proud of them for that happening. this younger generation coming up is smart.
Yeah.
And holy cow, are they tied in? Now, they might not have the experience as far as the industry itself, but their ability to use the next wave of technology that is coming is going to give them a distinct advantage over everybody caught in the middle, which is my generation, who knows it, but not to this level.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a big part of what this industry has to be aware of, is this next group coming up is just as hungry, just as eager to prove something, and more willing to share, more willing to network and be part of that. So a lot of what we're looking at with this is how can we help a wider range of companies, because consulting isn't for everybody.
Yeah.
We all want to go on a diet, and we all want to get in shape, and we all want to hire the personal trainer.
Yeah.
And for 2 weeks, it's great. Week 3 sucks.
Yeah.
Week 3 sucks is why all these diet companies stay in business, because you do it for 2 weeks, you pay the money, then you quit, and 6 months later you try it again. And so for those that don't want it, that coaching piece, or can't do the coaching piece yet, they're just not ready for it, we've come out with a brand new program called V Street, which is everything else that we've been able to offer clients for 37 years digitally, without the intense coaching piece that comes with it, that allows you to start to implement that foundational piece to allow the business to scale from an ops and a sales and marketing and accounting and an HR standpoint.
That's awesome.
For a fraction of the cost, it's all downloadable, customizable, and that's a big, big piece of what we're doing. And then so we have one that's designed for the guy who's on the truck trying to get off the truck. And we've got one designed for the guy who's off the truck, has a couple employees now, and is starting to manage people. It's a different skill set, and we've got up to $1 million, $1.5 million, and we've got to implement a whole new thing, because we can't just manage by how we feel that day.
Yeah.
And then we've got the next level that's about $3 million and up, and then we've got the big level above that. So you can kind of grow with the program as you do it, and it's a monthly subscription. So you do it for 2 months, and you get what you need out of it. You can bail and come back when you're ready for the next one.
Yeah. That's so cool, because I think it's a tool that'll be, like you said, more applicable to like the younger generation as they're coming up, as they want to consume it in small pieces. They're big on technology and whatever else. Like, it's a great way for you to get in front of those people and still share some of your value without having to be, hey, we've got a monthly or weekly coaching call that you got to jump on or whatever.
Yep. For 3 of the 4 levels, there is coaching involved. The top 2 levels have much more intense coaching that goes with it. But it allows you to get answers from people who've helped others along the way. So our guys have done it. Now they've helped other people do it, and they know what's coming. And we just have access to more information than anybody else because of
your
the
history.
Sandbox. The amount of clients that we have. So nobody can kind of compete at that same level as far as the data that we are able to put together and be able to hand over and say, okay, here is more information. So now you can make a better decision off of it.
Oh, it's so good. Love that stuff, Jeff. Last thing I want to ask you, because I know you're here at a lot of these, and you've given some awesome insight into what you guys are working on, and I really appreciate it. You're at a lot of trade shows. We're at a trade show right now. How do you get the most out of a trade show? Maybe from both your perspective as a vendor and maybe from like an attendee's perspective, like Josh or whatever. Like, how does a guy like Josh, obviously he's with Viola now, but how does someone that's a vendor and, maybe just owns a restoration company, how do they get the most out of a trade show?
I wasn't kidding when I said 18,000 trade shows. There's one basically every week anymore. No, it is. If you're a vendor, you want to get a hold of that list as soon as you can, and you want to make phone calls early on, and you want to set up, you'll do a little bit of business at your booth. But people know you're selling to them when they walk up to the booth, so they're going to be guarded. The sales are done when you meet with them away from the booth.
Going to dinner,
go to
whatever.
dinner, go sit on the couch and have a coffee.
Yeah.
And follow up on the back end piece of it. And follow. A lot of people say, I want to give them 2, 3, 4 weeks. Nope. They forgot about you.
Yeah.
Give them 2 days. That's all you need to get settled back in and reach out. You don't have to have a long conversation, but get the next appointment set. But if you are here as a participant in it, every trade show has something different that they offer that nobody else does. So look at the agenda prior to and figure out what they specialize in. And then figure out what your biggest needs are. What are you looking to improve in the company? Why are you spending the $4 or $5 grand to come to this thing? Call the organizer of the trade show. Call them up and say, hey, I'm so-and-so, and I'm really looking for help because I want to start a contents division. Who at this show do I need to meet with? Can you set up something for me? I promise you they will. They love that.
Yeah.
So reach out to the organizers of it and say, I'm looking for somebody who's really, really good at collections. Who do you have coming in that you know that has a great collections program in place? Whether it's a vendor, whether it's another contractor, and get all that stuff set up ahead of time so that when you're here, you're really focused in, so you're not getting lost with all of the noise and all the other stuff that takes place.
Yeah, that's awesome. We've had people recommend that, and I think the way you described it is perfect. Is like almost come up with a strategy. Like, okay, I want to go to this trade show. I want to take my team to it. Here are the things I want to accomplish. Here are the speakers I'm going to listen to, or the breakout sessions. Here are the people I want to talk to. Like, have that all mapped out so that you go there and have the most productive, 3 days that you possibly can.
That's it.
Yeah, it's the way to do it. Jeff, thank you so much. This was really, really fun. This is an awesome conversation. I want to close out, give you guys the opportunity. I know most of our audience knows who you guys are, but if people are interested and want to learn a little bit more about your coaching or what you guys offer, what can they do? How can they find you guys?
Yeah, a majority of what we do is going to be one-on-one coaching. We also offer a variety of professional training programs for project managers, estimators, salespeople, managers, in-home sales, all sorts of things. Our biggest event of the year is business planning. That's coming up October and November. Canton, Ohio, and down in Southwest Florida in November. You can imagine which one's more popular. But go to violand.com, VIOLAND, violand.com, and all the information's there. Call the office. We don't sell. I'm not going to sit here and pitch you a million different things.
Yeah.
Let's have a conversation. If I got something that's going to help you, great. If I don't, I can probably point you in the direction of somebody who does. And when the time's right, give me a call.
Yeah. Love it, Jeff. Thanks again so much. We got to have you on again in the future.
That's right.
We're gonna have you on multiple times. Now you're gonna be so sick of us.
Once I accomplish that world domination, you're so close.
This is the first time having you on, and now we're gonna have you on 10 more times after this. But really appreciate it, Jeff, and we'll talk to you again in the future.
Thank you very much.
This has been Success Elevated, making you a little bit better one show at a time. Thanks for joining us. Please subscribe on YouTube or any other major podcast platform to listen to more episodes. We are proudly brought to you by Spot On Solutions. If you'd like to learn more about how we can help you grow your business, please check us out at spotonsolutions.com.